through this, this is being broadcast on our YouTube channel on the web, and it's also being recorded. And while through the meeting, if everybody would keep their mic muted until you need to talk or called upon, we'd appreciate that. And also, we will have a roll call vote for everything, so we'll need to call everybody's name and that way and vote at that time. So with that, Dave, I'll turn it over to you, unless Jackie, you have anything else that I missed?
No, you covered everything.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll call the meeting to order. And I would like to introduce Jody Hamilton, who has recently been appointed by the County Council as their representative. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you.
We'll then move. We'll then move for the approval of the minutes from February 27th. Please review. And if you see no changes, I would ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval. Dave Zimmerman.
Thank you, David. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Steve Snyder.
Okay, so we will do a roll call vote of the members.
Sure.
So this is Dave, and I approve the minutes. I vote to approve the minutes.
Then Dave, you just have to ask for each name.
Oh, okay. And Dave Zimmerman.
Approved.
Mr. Walker.
Approved.
Snyder.
Aye.
And Jody.
Approved.
I think you got everybody, Dave.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Andy,
So
could
I'll
you
ask for a motion that we close the
thank you.
regular meeting and open a public hearing on the resolution. And we will need a roll call vote again.
I'll make that motion. Steve Snyder.
Scott Walker, seconds.
Sorry. So would someone make a motion? I may be losing a little bit of connection. Would somebody make a motion?
Yes, Steve Snyder made a motion and Scott Walker seconded that. So now you can do your roll call vote now, Dave.
I believe Dave is having connection difficulty.
I'm sorry, I'm failing to hear anyone.
Okay. Can you hear us now, Dave?
Yeah,
Can you try to check with Dave and to see through text what's going on? And I don't know what the rules allow. Do we have a vice president, and do we still have a quorum if Dave can't participate? Do we get him back online?
We have a quorum, with Dave or not.
If possible, he could dial in using the telephone number and he'd be able to participate with the audio portion. I don't know how we could convey that to him right now.
everything.
The telephone number and access code are in the invitation.
I'm going to see if I can do that.
And it just popped up, caller 4 has arrived. Who is caller 4?
That's probably me, Margie.
Okay, thank you.
I'll mute myself now.
Okay, I sent a text to Dave and he says that he's read it, so I think he'll try calling in. Andy, I use the 872-240-3412 number.
Yes, that's accurate.
Thank you. I think we had a new caller.
Hello, sorry, I believe I'm in now.
Yes.
Yes, David, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I apologize. So, see where we were.
Yeah, we had a motion and a second. I think Steve Snyder made a motion and Scott Walker seconded it. So we just need a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Zimmerman?
Approved.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Snyder?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Aye.
And I also approve.
Okay, so now we're in the public hearing. Colin Cochran, I believe our bond counsel is on, and he can explain the bond process, but actually I think I'll turn it over first to Shelby Bowen to explain the project itself. So Shelby, can you tell us more about the project?
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Dennis. First, I want to say this has been a long process. I know it culminates in these public approvals, but I want to thank the mayor and Dennis and their staff for what's really been about 5 years of trying to identify the right spot. And then over the last probably 2 years, once we engaged Regions Bank and talked about how we thought that site fit well with the downtown plan, it was a long process to get site control, but Regions has been a good partner and collaborated. And then of course, the mayor and Dennis help us kind of get to where we are. So Rebar Development is a firm that focuses on downtown redevelopment projects and public-private partnerships in the central Indiana. We really are seeking great community partners that are progressive in thinking and growth, and certainly Lafayette is an attractive place for us to invest. And so once we identified the site, we kind of knew what kind of product we wanted to deliver. And the mayor from the onset was insistent upon high quality project that was going to look good now and look good in 100 years. And I really think we hit the mark on that by spending a lot of time with the mayor and Dennis and their staff, making sure that this is kind of one of the crown jewels of Lafayette as you come in maybe from across the river. So we're excited about it. And then the next step in the process that you'll learn about and maybe read more about as this project becomes public is the state of Indiana through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation also was eager to continue the great momentum, not just in development downtown, but workforce attraction and retention in Lafayette. And so they are also a partner and have awarded this project it's called a redevelopment tax credit, where essentially after we have made the investment, the state provides us a tax credit that we can then sell as equity to make the project possible. And a lot of that need for their participation is the site is, expensive acquisition and development site to create that kind of density, and then B, to deliver a project that has quality materials. And we're able to achieve that. So really appreciate the support from the city and the state. It's going to be a fantastic project with great amenities, and will be, like I said, one of the jewels of downtown Lafayette.
Shelby, can you tell us a little bit more about it? I believe it's a 5-story building. How many units and the square footage?
Sure.
And the investment overall?
Yes, sir. So it's 97 apartments, and the design of the building, the first floor is actually parking. So with the exception of 2,000 square feet of commercial space that'll be on South Street. So if you were standing on South Street or coming up South Street, the first floor is commercial. And really the way the project is designed is although the first level is a podium parking, the design is really integrated for it to look more like the building than it does a parking garage and parking structure. And so we're really proud of that. And then on top of the podium will be 4 stories of apartments, 97 units. A couple things unique about this project is because there's a podium and the building is essentially a C shape, and the inside of the C will be facing downtown. On the second floor above the parking inside the C shape will be a really fantastic courtyard. So a second level courtyard that will include a dog park, which is kind of a neat amenity for our residents. And then on the 5th floor, there'll be all of our apartment amenities, lounge, media room, and game room that will have also outdoor patio space overlooking downtown on the 5th floor. So it's just a really unique, cool project that I think people are going to be excited to live there.
Okay. And your overall investment is how much?
Just shy of 18 million. Right now, the price tag on it is 17.7 million.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Shelby.
Sure.
And then, Colin, are you on the call?
Yeah, I am. I actually just managed to get back on. I had my own technical difficulties, which I know everyone was dealing with when I got dropped. So apologies if I missed anything. I just got back in the line about 30 seconds ago.
Colin, Shelby gave us an overview of the project itself. If you could speak to the resolution and the process that we're undertaking to help support this project.
Yeah, certainly. And there's kind of 2 parallel paths when we approve projects like this. This one being the EDC resolution report more sticks to the financing aspect of the project. There's a separate process that's more involved in approving an amendment to the economic development area in the city. So this step here today, the resolution, really is just a general support resolution for the issuance of the bonds. That's what's really completed by the resolution itself. There is additionally a report of the Economic Development Commission that makes certain findings required by statute, such as, what is the total cost and investment of the project, what are the job creation statistics, which you'll see in that report, and then maybe Shelby covered some of these things already, as well as defining that it's not going to materially adverse affect any other facilities in the city. So it's a pretty straightforward resolution and process at the EDC level. The EDC won't be required to make any other approvals or findings. And the next stop in terms of approving the overall financing of the project will be at the council level. They will approve they'll actually introduce and then approve a bond ordinance. The RDC will have a couple more steps they'll need to take on, one of which they already adopted a amending declaratory resolution. That's, kind of the first step in amending the existing EDA area to kind of include this project. They'll need to go back and publish notice for a public hearing, and then after the completion of that public hearing, adopt a confirmatory resolution. The RDC will also take an action to, by resolution, pledge over the TIF increment to pay back or be, paid to support these bonds. So that's probably all the steps that will be undertaken. I know Greg Masano's on the line as well and can talk maybe a little bit about what the actual financing plan and timing of pricing and selling the bonds, but that's a pretty high level overview of the overall process, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
And Colin, we had a step too where the Area Plan Commission had to approve the project in conformance with the comprehensive plan, and that was done last night at their meeting and approved as well. So,
thank you, Dennis. I was going to ask about that. I assumed that went off without any issue, but yeah, you're exactly right. Once the RDC first approved its amending declaratory resolution, the next step was the Area Planning Commission for their approval, and that's all required by statute. But glad to hear that was approved last night.
Yeah. So, Jason and Greg, could you speak to the bond for the commission, please?
Yes, this is Jason Simler with Baker Tilly. And yes, we are looking at issuing bonds based upon the anticipated revenues that are going to be generated from the development that was described. So we are looking at putting together the official statement, the document that will be marketing the bonds, and either looking at doing a competitive bid or private placement, but right now probably looking at a competitive bid sometime in the latter part of July, and the closing on those bonds in the middle of August. Based upon revenue streams and of about $300,000 a year in current interest rates, we're looking at a bond issue of about $3.5 million. And after issuance costs and setting aside an amount for a reserve, that leaves a little over $3 million available for funding the project as the incentive. And again, that's over about a 19-year term. Again, the actual dollar amount of the bonds and the incentive will really be based upon the interest rate on the bonds that we will be able to achieve once we sell those bonds in July.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would ask if there are any public comments.
Mayor, would you like to make any comments?
Just very briefly, as Shelby said, this is something we've worked on for quite some time. This parcel was identified in some of our work with MKSK, and as we looked at housing needs and utilization of parcels in downtown. It has been a long process because we do want this to be a signature piece, and Shelby speak to it today, but you'll see the finishes, brick and stone, those types of things. And also then kind of a unique parking arrangement where during the day, people in the community are going to be able to use some of the parking in the facility also. So a long time to make all the pieces of this puzzle come together. Again, it's a great project that helps continue to increase that density in downtown, which keeps it vibrant and growing, and restaurants all stay open when they can get back, having more foot traffic in our downtown, people only walking a block to a restaurant. Those types of things are a big deal for that continued vitality. So we're happy that we could finally make all this work out.
Thank you, Mayor. And Dave, for public comment, potential respondents for public comment needed to submit their comments in writing to us at least 1 hour in advance of the meeting, and I have not received anything. Cindy, I know Cindy's on the line, and I asked for the clerk's office, if they've received any public comment on this project.
No, we have
Well,
not.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Dennis. Are there any commission members who would like to comment? If not, thank you very much for your presentation. We would go forward with a motion to close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting.
Walker
Do I have
here.
a motion?
Yep. Scott Walker, I move to close the public meeting.
Thank
Steve
you, Scott. Do we
Snyder,
have a second?
Steve Snyder,
Thank you,
I will
Steve.
second that.
Okay, so we will now take a vote. Mr. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. We have before us then the resolution of from the EDC number 2020-02, the resolution of the Lafayette Economic Development Commission making findings related to financing in certain economic development facilities, approving such financing of the documents, or approving such financing in the forms and the documents are related. So would we have, as new business, would we have a motion to approve Resolution 2020-02?
Dave Zimmerman, I'll make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Do we have a second?
Scott Walker, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Scott. All in favor?
Actually, Dave, real quick, if I could interject. Jason, can you,
Yeah, I should ask
can you
if there are
confirm
further comments. Sorry.
That's okay. Jason, can you confirm the bond dollar amount? I think in your comments you said 3.5, but the document says 4.5, so I want to make sure that the document is correct.
Yeah, the not to exceed amount's 4.5, but based upon current interest rates, it's going to be more like 3.5. But if interest rates were to increase or decrease, that we could increase that dollar amount. So that 4.5 is a not to exceed amount.
Okay,
and this is
thank you.
Cullen, just for the commissioner's sake. It's very typical that you see a not to exceed amount be, a little cushion between what the expected amount, which is exactly what Greg just mentioned. And, it just allows some flexibility in case there's change in interest rate and you don't have to end up going back through kind of the same process just because you wound up $15 more than what your resolution said. So very common practice amongst municipal finance transactions.
Yeah, and the other reason that 4.5 is maybe has more cushion than typical is when we were first drafting these documents, we were still kind of working on what the TIF estimate might be for the project to help size the bonds. So again, we wanted to make sure that there was room for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
And thank you, Jackie. Any other comments? Hearing none, I would call for a vote. Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Zimmerman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Snyder?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So the motion passes. We have already, as has been mentioned, public comments were to be sent in advance based upon the Governor Holcomb's executive order of 2009. So I believe we can move, if there is no other business, we can move to adjournment. do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Dave Zimmerman.
Do I have a second? Thanks, Mr. Zimmerman.
Steve Snyder, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. So we will now take the vote. Ms. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Aye.
Mr. Walker,
Aye.
and Mr. Snyder.
Aye.
And I also thank you all. Thank you for bringing this forward. Thank the mayor for his comments. Thank you, Dennis and Jackie and Cindy. And we will conclude the meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Just to let everybody know before you hang up, I'm going to make these documents for everybody to sign digitally. So look in your email for it. So just so you know, we will be signing these digitally.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. You're going to be very proud of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulties.